Hey guys, I'm back with the second part of the video. Let's continue from where we left off. I've created this initial geometry. We can see that the object is displayed to the curves that make it up. So we know it's a sphere, but in reality we see this strange geometry. In fact, we have this circle, which is the silhouette of our sphere from the top view. This is the sphere from the front view. In the perspective view, by holding down the mouse button and rotating the object, I can view it from multiple angles. Why doesn't this sphere look like a sphere? Because we need to adjust the display modes. For example, if I double-click on the name of the view, I can maximize the view to have a larger modeling area. I can also choose different view types by either clicking on the small triangle or right-clicking on the name. It doesn't matter. This is the wireframe view, which shows only the curves that form an object, not the surfaces. On the other hand, the shaded view lets us visualize the surfaces of an object. So we also have the option to change how different objects are displayed. As I said, by right-clicking and holding the mouse button, I can rotate the object. But if I hold down the Shift key and right-click, I can pan, which moves the view without rotating it. This helps me navigate within the plane. Let's go back and double-click on the view name again, and we can restore the view simultaneously. Notice that by using the mouse scroll wheel, I can zoom in or out, and depending on where I click with the mouse, the view will focus on the opposite area. The other views will also follow. By right-clicking on the view name, I can change the display mode again. Now, let's double-click on the perspective view and explore other modes. Right-click, and let's see the rendered mode. In this case, the rendered mode provides a more realistic view of the object with lighting and shadows. However, no materials have been applied to this object, so it's displayed in white on a white background. It's possible to apply materials using this other menu bar, where we can find layers. So the sphere is positioned on a default layer, but we can also create new layers, for example, called sphere, and move the object by right-clicking and changing its layer. Now, this object is on a different layer from the default, and it can be hidden by turning off the layer or locked so that the object cannot be transformed anymore. I can only rotate it, but I can't select it. I unlock it by clicking on the lock icon. Looking at the other tabs available, we have, for instance, the Properties bar, which helps us identify the type of geometry of the selected object. In this case, it's a closed surface. Other properties, such as materials, can be clicked here or through another icon. We can choose default materials, but we can also change its color, and the sphere will update automatically. Alternatively, we can take the material and drag it onto the object. We can create as many materials as we want and define their properties. For instance, this is a slightly transparent sphere. Let's try another example, adding a plastic material, which typically works well and has various options. We can change the color, and as we did before, let's make it a little shinier or more reflective. Now let's apply the material and check these settings. For example, if I reduce the reflectivity, the object will have fewer reflections of surrounding environment. I like this effect. We can also add some transparency, which will cause the shadows to disappear. I want it to remain solid and a bit more satin, so you can see it loses some of its reflection as well. These are the material properties. That's all for today. We covered some important elements of the Rhino interface, like layouts and materials. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to like and follow me to stay updated with my upcoming uploads. Feel free to comment if you have any advice for me.